The first talk will be given by Dr. Yoelle Maarek, that is heading the Yahoo labs of Israel and India, right? Before that, she was a director in Google, and before that, she was in IBM. She's very famous in the field of information retrieval, and she was the co-chair of DubDubDub and SIGIR, right? So the stage is yours.
Thank you, Leo. Can you hear me, guys? Okay, so first I apologize for interrupting your lunch because I think it's pretty, and thank you, to Bracha and Leo for hosting us so well today. I'm kind of short, as you noticed, so I'm going to be here, otherwise you're not going to see me at all. So it's a pleasure to be here at Ben-Gurion University again. We people from the north, right, in Haifa, we love going to Beersheba. As long as we go around Tel Aviv, we're very happy. So it's kind of, Jerusalem is okay too. Only Tel Aviv, sorry. How many Tel Avivites here? I like you guys, but Anyway, so that actually I was here at Ben-Gurion a year ago at the school conference, talking about another domain of research that Yahoo Labs is very interested into, which was Yahoo Answer. So I'm happy that today we're talking about a totally different topic, which is going to be mail. Before I start and giving you a little bit of this, I hope, research inspiration, something which is very special about Yahoo Labs is that we are really the research arm of Yahoo, but we are a small organization. Worldwide, we're no more than 250 people. And actually in Haifa, we are about, almost 40, mostly PhD graduates, a few master graduates. We are a real research organization, which is very refreshing in the sense that we don't have to run after money. I was joking with Leo just a second ago. We're funding by the headquarters. And we are really measured both by internal impact. Because we are funded by the corporate, we decide on what strategic project to work, but also on external impact. In that sense, we are very open. So that's my marketing pitch, and from now on, I promise I won't say anything, any publicity about Yahoo. I really want to discuss with you about web mail research, because I come from search. From IBM, from Google, I really worked in search for the last 20 years. I was super lucky to be in that field before the web. I was not a visionary, I was just incredibly lucky. But I think that web, actually mail, and for a number of reasons, has been a little bit neglected. And if there are students here, I would very much like to encourage you guys to start looking at this data, because they are really new grounds, and this domain in terms of research is really in its infancy. So a lot of exciting problems that I hope I will get you excited about. So today I'm going to talk about data mining in webmail, and first, credits to my co-author, my co-authors. Actually, the talk that I'm going to, the work that I'm going to present to you today is based on two papers. One I was at KDD 11, and the other one at Wisdom 2013, and also a presentation I just gave actually 2 weeks ago at DubDubDub in North Korea. And so, of course, I thank all my co-authors, because this is teamwork. Okay, so let's talk about email. How many of you guys have a webmail account? How many of you guys use Gmail typically? You're in Israel, should be like 99%. It's not true if you guys actually ask the question in Korea. It was not that, which is interesting. How many of you guys use Gmail for their business needs? Okay, fewer people. So the thing is, there is really this phenomenon of webmail and enterprise mail. So how many of you guys have an enterprise mail, style Outlook in your enterprise? Okay, so you're really techies. If you go to a normal audience, that would be like much, much lower. The thing is, webmail and corporate email are very different beasts, and we will talk about that a little bit. So webmail is huge, and actually the number of webmail accounts keep growing. So you have all this data from Radicati. Basically, the number of email accounts keep growing, the traffic volume keeps growing. On the other hand, if you think about the perception of people, and you have this excellent article by Alexia Totsis at TechCrunch a few years ago saying that people don't got mail because basically the email usage is declining. So we have a kind of paradox here. So just to ask you a question, Are there people here in the audience who have kids, let's say, between 8 and 18? Can you raise your hands? Okay. Do your kids, among your kids, who's using an email account? Okay. Let's go even. So the thing is, most teenagers today are really on social media. It's going to be WhatsApp, it's going to be Facebook. They are not going to use Gmail unless their parents tell them to, right? I guess if your kids are using an email account, maybe they're the older ones, they are mostly on social media. And on the other hand, and so, actually what Alexia said, that it's about 9% of the population now, it's a decline of 9% over the overall population, and way more like 30% plus on the teenager population. So something is kind of weird here. Traffic keeps growing, number of accounts keeps growing in email, and the perception of everyone is, why do we need email now? Because for personal communication it's so much better. So keep that in mind. We are going to answer that question. We tried, in our team, we tried to look at that, because something, if you don't know, I promise I wouldn't do marketing, but nevertheless, Yahoo Mail, probably because it's one of the first systems that was around, has been number 2 in terms of webmail system for a number of years, just behind Hotmail and above Gmail. Now it has reverted. It's still number 2, but behind Gmail and above, Hotmail. So you have always these 3 systems, at the top level in terms of volume and traffic. But the thing is that we have a lot of data, and still people don't really know how webmail works and what's really the nature of email traffic. So we decided to have a look at we're talking about big data. We have a few 100 million users. Let's look at how they really use their email. And the very first thing that you look at, when you look at your desktop, I'm not talking mobile for the moment, and you look at your clients, you see on the left side this huge space for folders. So we just wanted to check how people use folders. So let's see how geeky you guys are. How many of you guys have folders? Okay. How many of you guys define folders? How many of you guys have put a message in a folder in the last month? You such geeks, you're so not representative. You're absolutely not representative. So this is the data. 70% of email users haven't defined a single folder. It's webmail, remember. We're not talking about what you do in the enterprise. It's huge. It's on your left side, 70%. And even more than that, 10% of web users, actually only 10% are active classifiers. So when you raise your hands, you guys, this was not 10% of this room. But that's the real data. And that's actually, for you, practitioners and researchers, always remember when you research the web and you talk about the democracy of these old technologies, don't make the mistakes of projecting what you're doing on your customers, because this is not how it works, right? This system works for everyone, not for us, and we are not representative. That's, I remember, I still love Gmail, by the way. I still use Gmail. I have Yahoo Mail. I use Gmail because I love it. I love labels. I love threads. But clearly, Gmail is a system, done by engineers for engineers. And when my mother moved to Gmail because I was at Google, and then when she saw recently that I'm working on Yahoo Mail, I said, "Oh, that's what I want. This is simpler." I said, "Yeah, oh, good. I got something right." But personally, I much prefer Gmail. But you have to think about your customers. Our customers, they don't like, the super early advanced technology. Even, you cannot say folders or labels to be that advanced. And they're lost with all these, change in technologies all the time. In any case, we have an issue with folders. Only 10% of web mail users are active classifiers, and still on the left side, it takes a huge portion of your real estate. Something is wrong here. Okay, so we decided 3 years ago to look a little bit more about these folders and see whether we could actually simplify the task for the users. If users don't put messages into folders, something must be wrong. Beginning, of a beautiful data mining exercise. We didn't want to do the usual research way. Let's take the Enron data set, if you guys are familiar with it, because that's a corporate corpus, different behavior. We wanted real data. So we looked at a lot of mail inboxes, and we have many at Yahoo, and we tried to think whether we can apply this concept of wisdom of crowds that works so well in search to mail. And the idea was super simple. You would have done the same. Let me just click on that. we look, so here, assume here you have 100 million inboxes of users. I said that 30% of users have actually defined some folders. So let's use these guys, because on hundreds of millions of users is still a lot of people, and let's try to start to try to learn from these 30% to apply to the rest of the population. Simple, right? What was different is that if you remember most of the previous research approaches, the idea was really to have a more vertical approach. You would look at one inbox. I would take, your inbox, Lior. What folders did you learn? I would learn on that, do some supervised learning on your own folders, and whenever I have a new email coming, I would classify that. That's what most people did, most researchers. But if you look at your clients, your mail clients, none of you guys have a real automatic classifier, precisely because most people don't even define folders in the first place. So how are you going to learn, right? And also, it's not really big data. It's kind of, even if you're a super, crazy mailer, it's still small data, in all respects. So we totally different approach. Let's not look vertically. Let's look horizontally. And if we talk about horizontal learning, we need to make sure that there are enough shared features or shared concepts between users horizontally that we could learn, right? If everyone is totally special, I will not be able to learn anything. So we did a very simple exercise. We took actually the folder defined, these are user-defined folders, and we just counted them. Do we have head folders? Do we have folders that are shared by really, a lot of users that, that would give us some inspiration on that should be the folders that we should use for everyone? And we look at them, and, the first one, as could be expected, was Facebook. So it was 3 years ago, actually. It's a little bit different these days. Personal, eBay, social networks, family, friends, bills, shopping, kind of intuitive. My big surprise was actually recipes. Do you guys have a recipe? Anyone has a recipe folder here? Wow, cool. Very nice. I didn't expect this one. There were, funnier one, like there is mom and there is dad. Guess which one is the bigger and the more popular? Of course, mom, of course. So we saw all these things that kind of are intuitive, and said, okay, enough commonality for us to try learning. So we worked on that, and we looked at the 6,000 most popular folders, both in terms of volume and in terms of being distributed among many different users. None of these 6,000 folders had fewer than 10,000 users each, so that's good enough. And we looked at 300 million messages, and classic machine learning algo. Let's look at them. Let's identify some features. We went for the simple. No, let's not analyze the body. Just look at the sender, the subject. We had also all kind of metadata like the URL which is attached, or the we had whether it had an attachment or not. But we looked just at that, right? And given this feature, let's try to see whether we can learn something from that. So if a folder, we would look at a folder that people call it, users call it Ancestry or Netflix, commercial companies. Look at all the messages in that folder. Look at these features. So the features, the type of the feature is URL, the value is Netflix, the type of the feature is sender, the URL is also, the value is also Netflix, etc. I have key value pairs, not too many for each of these messages in the folder. Let's try to learn from that. Before doing that, nevertheless, we saw that there were many variations of the same name, of same concept, if you will. So we wanted to make our task a little bit easier, and we went from 6,000 folders to 2,000 folders, because when you talk about big data, you always like to aggregate to be, to have, let's say, less sparse data. So we looked at it. And we just clustered these things. So first we got rid of all kind of noisy folders. So there are stop words, we have stop folders. These are true things, guys. A, B, C, D, yes, there are people here, not here, I hope, who has an A, B, C, D kind of taxonomy in their folders. You can say it. No, okay, no one. I guess that. But, everything else, stuff, the last one, I love the last one. You have to understand, this is true data. I swear it's true data. And we're talking about more than 10,000 people for each of these folders, right? So, guys, be honest. Anyone here has one of these folders? It could be ABC or 2008. It doesn't need to be sheet on my sheet. Anyone? Yes. Thank you. Noam and Racha, you're brave. We have another one. Yeah, of course you're going to say that it's 2008 or 2009, right? Which one do you have? Oh, Misk is a good one. Okay, fair. No one has this one? I would love that if someone had it. I'm still looking for a user who really has that. Oh. So we got rid of these folders, and we did some basic clustering based on these features. And we found that many variations of the same concepts. We found also, if you look at recipes, we found typos, which is wonderful. Even if did you mean and wisdom of crowd works on spelling, actually we still find typos shared by many, many different people. And as you see, like here, recipes, wrongly spelled, but also translation. You would see, I don't know how you say recipe in Spanish, but it was in the list. Anyone knows how to say recipe in Spanish? No way, no Spanish speaking. No. But you find this kind of stuff. Now we have 2,000 folders. Labels. It's the name of the cluster. We didn't label them manually. We took the most popular from the folder names. And, we had a multi-class classification task. I won't really go into the deep details. I really refer you to the paper. But we went there and we decided to do really a tag versus tag kind of we had to find the right sets of tags. We wanted to run tags for a given message, where the tag is really one of these cluster names. So I have 2,000 options, and let's find for any new incoming message what would be the best tag. We also wanted to go for precision rather than recall, because there is nothing more annoying to give you have something that comes with a recipe and you say it's finance. That's totally annoying. Any feature which is user-facing needs to be super precise. So we also wanted to have this kind of confidence level. Basically, a lot of beautiful machine learning, typical KDD paper. Here are the results. Results are maybe, and you see why that. If you look at that, what we try to evaluate is really the recall at K. Basically, because it was easy to have a test set because we had the actual ground truth of people classifying with this 30% population. How did they classify their own message? And so we looked at that. Given a message from this collection that was our test and train, so we split it as usual, could we find, at K, the folder where the original users really classify this message? And you see that basically, recall at 10, in the 10 first candidate, we could achieve something like, for the best of our methods, something like a recall of 85%, but on 10, really, you don't want to suggest to a user like 10 options. You would like the first or the second one to be the good one, and you see where we are here. It's way too low for really deployment. It's interesting insight, but it was a little bit disappointing. So we tried to look a little bit more at the details of what we got. So what you see here is really the folders we observed. On the left column, it's a little bit maybe small for the back, but basically we had the coverage of all these folders or cluster of folders. We mapped that. And you see that Facebook was the most used. You had groups, friends, and family. So that's a cluster. People might have friends or family, separate. You would have jobs, eBay and PayPal merged together. We looked at the coverage too, and we looked at the suggestions, and we started to look at that, and we were not really happy. And basically, and that's the beauty, I would say, of working in a web company, and the privilege we have to be in a research environment in a web company. It's one thing to have a nice research result, but it's also a lesson in humility to look at real users and understand that maybe technically your method is valid and it's beautiful, but users will hate it. And that's a place where you put yourself in the shoes of the user and think about yourself. If I'm suggesting to you Facebook, groups, jobs, okay, not bad, nice. But then we looked at this list, and something, at least to me, was kind of wrong. Would I like to have a suggestion like that? Would it help me? Not really. And that was really the lesson learned here. So we didn't deploy it. We tested it. We wrote a paper. We tested it. But we actually, told our business partners in mail, no, it's not ready to be launched. That doesn't feel right, right? And one thing that we really realized is that we had too many folders. It was really, really complicated. We have 2,000 options. So of course, not every user is going to have these 2,000 tags, but it's so complex. No normal human being has 2,000. I should not say that here. How many of you guys have 2,000 folders? Okay, you're normal. You're geeks, but you're normal. But some people do have 2,000 folders, but most people don't, right? So we looked at that, too many folders, too many option of tags, and something is wrong here. The second thing, if that actually bothered me the most, and if I think as a product manager defining the product, and I need to explain that to my mom, to my kids, I'm going to have a folder suggestion for Amazon and a suggestion for jobs. These are not the same level of abstraction. If some guys here like the semantic web and all kinds of semantic concept, not the same level of abstraction. Here I have a name of a company, and here I have a concept. Same thing, I have travel and Expedia, because both have their own traffic and enough evidence, but they kind of overlap, and when am I going to use this one and not this one? Not easy to explain. So we started to look at it a little bit more, and we wanted really to look at these folders for which we were not doing so well. Those for which, if you remember the recall at K, actually our recall was pretty bad. We looked at them, and we realized that actually but the opposite. What are the folders for which we did really, really well? And these folders, as expected, were all these folders coming from like Facebook, eBay, PayPal. We were doing really, really well there. And what was so special about them, they all contain machine-generated email. Not human email, not personal communication, machine-generated. That was really the key thing. When we got that, we understood why suddenly we had so many folders with a company name, and we tried to look not only at folders, but it gave us really an idea. Let's look at all the data for all messages. I don't care about folders, everything, all the incoming messages. How many of these are machine generated? So I will pass the details, and I'm happy to explain that offline how we can really verify that these things are machine generated. But we discovered that 90% of our traffic is machine generated today. It's huge. Did you guys expect it? I expected, like 75%, not 90%. I'm talking again about webmail. We'd be wrong in corporate email, okay? And so if you remember my very first few slides, that is probably the reason of this paradox. At the beginning, I mentioned that traffic keeps growing, volume, email account, but kids are moving to social media. Yes, kids are moving to social media for personal communication, absolutely. But as soon as they go and need to register to a university, they want to apply to Ben-Gurion, where are they going to get their notification of exams and whatever? By mail. Mail has become a little bit like your snail mail, box. It's really a place for persistent information, and it still has value. So mail is not dead. So that's the good news of the day. Guys, mail is not dead. It's good, keep your email. It's convenient, you need it. Tell your kid to get their email now, before someone takes the cool username that they would like to get. It's getting more and more difficult. If anyone wants, Ymail is a new domain of Yahoo. You can have your own first name and Yoelle at Ymail if you want to send me mail. And so you can really go there, and basically you go there and you see that it's 90% of your mail traffic. Once you realize that, you understand that we should revisit all our mail features. The first one is clearly categorization, and you see at approximately the same time as we were doing our research exercise, that actually AOL started to look at putting their social notification. They discovered that, and if you think about Gmail inbox tabs, they actually very much focus on machine-generated email. So we looked at these machine categories, and we realized actually we can have way fewer categories. I'm going to pass the details of that because it's still work, it's really work in progress. The paper we just submitted, but basically we discovered from the data that if you look at the most latent categories in all the mail traffic, you can discover that you have 1 human and 5 which are really, really machine-generated. And if you think about that, it means that we need to revisit everything we are doing today in mail. Mail has been conceived for personal communication, and what we get is 90% of machine-generated email. One effort that we undertook right after is really threads. Threads today, they are supported in most clients. They typically are going to put together 2 mail that are, reply and forward. This is human, purely human, right? That's what you get today, right? You would put Eric and Billy mail messages together. But what you want Don't you want to have, these two things from LinkedIn that are linked from the same sender but different subject together? Or these two? Or even better, these two. Different sender, different subject, but one has been caused by the other. You place an order with Google and then UPS sends you a notification of the shipment. Wouldn't you want to discover that? That's what you need with machine-generated email. So we have a paper about that you're welcome to read. I don't have much time. I won't go really too much into detail. But in terms of aggregation and abstraction, what we looked at, again, super simple. Let's abstract every message by the sender and a kind of mask of the subject, because if I do that, I'm going to do a kind of reverse engineering and rediscover the script from Amazon, from eBay, that generated for the same action, the same transaction, but that was sent in very different variation to many, many users. If I can find back this script or the abstraction of the script, then I can build a graph. Danny is going to be happy. We build graphs. And I can have a kind of causality graph between these abstractions. And I can try to guess for every incoming machine-generated email what its probable ancestor, what previous email caused its appearance. We did that, and it's not bad. We are not 100% that. It's still in progress. But we managed to do that, and we can find today causal threads. So I went really fast here because I really want to keep the stage open for questions. But you see that I gave you an example of categories, an example of threads. But if you think of that, and that I really hope that my take-home message, every mail feature that you know today in mail is built for personal communication. We start to see some things in Gmail and other mail clients where you could do directly transactions from your message, but think in that direction. That's the way to go. Mail needs to be revisited. It's not done yet. That's my favorite, and it's very recent, as you see, from January. That still kills me, that in my Gmail account, and all the other ones, not only Gmail, I shouldn't be mean like that, but how come I have an email from, where the sender is called no reply, and still here I have reply? Come on, guys, it's written, right? So we're talking, Daniel was talking about visualization. A human would have called that, right? But that's the kind of thing that we absolutely need to address. Take a message. Think of that the next time that you use in your email or when you talk to your kids. 90% of the email traffic is machine generated. That's the first take-home message. Second, this is good. This is not bad. This is not spam. This is the thing that you want to keep. These are your travel itineraries. These are your, hotel reservation. There is also crap, newsletter, which are kind of gray spam. But in that mix, you have so much super important information. A wonderful area of research for all the new students here. And I hope I got you excited about email. And I'm ready to take questions. Thank you.
How do you do a Turing test of the email?
So please define the Turing test for the email.
To label it as a machine generated or human generated.
Okay, so the way we do that, so I will give you more details offline, but the way we did it is that we basically have, it's a usual machine learning problem. We have basically classification. If you know for a fact that you have machine-generated email because it has been labeled like that by editors, or because you see that exactly the same one occurs over a very, very large, when I'm talking about 6 million users. So that's what we started to do, and we built a classifier for machine-generated email, and we actually were well above 90% precision on report. So for the 6 categories, that's work in progress. I don't want to go, give me just a month, it's submitted for publication, 2 weeks maybe. We see whether I get accepted. But in short, what we verified is that we can really, for these 6 categories that we discovered, on these ones we have above 90% recall and precision. So it's a classification problem. It was pretty well, not perfect, but pretty well. The only exception that we see from time to time, if I have a friend working at Amazon, or Amazon is totally dominated by shopping, and I might do the wrong extrapolation, and I will say that this is shopping, whereas it's personal. So this is where we can fail, but overall 90% precision and recall is good.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. I know you said not to project our own email use onto the typical user, but my own experience is that I have become less of an active folderizer, although I still classify as active according to your definition. in part because search wildcards have gotten so much better. I wonder if that's something that you've seen for other users in general, whether that differs between perhaps Gmail and Yahoo Mail, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. It's a very, very good question. Actually, so I'm going to talk now as a product person. I do think it's super important to know what the high-level category of an email is, but does it make sense today to actually classify an email automatically in a folder? No. You know, when search works, you don't need categorization. If you remember how all these search engines started, before there was Google, there was Yahoo, that was just a taxonomy, and you browse when search is broken. If you do a good search engine, you absolutely don't need to categorize. This being said, some people are really, you know, kind of systematic and a little bit of OCD and really need to classify things. But personally, I don't really believe in doing active classification. I don't even believe in the Gmail inbox tabs, which are cute, but I don't want these things to be removed from my inbox. And I'm talking just product now. Most people, even the geeks, are classifying less and less because they trust the search. And that's, as a product person, I would say, yes, we should go search. Yes, generate this meta information. Yes, I want to know it's machine generated, to apply different type of layout, to do all kind of other, invent new features. But in my sense, yes, categories are dead. I agree with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.